Today I thought we'd revisit a number station that's perhaps one of the rarest. So rare in fact, it may have never even existed. I'm referring to G23, also known as Hitler's birthday. I've alluded to this station in 2 other videos, but there's no information out there on it. Nothing. And I want to solve it. So I've uncovered another couple of leads and thought I'd put this mystery to you, the viewer. This is the situation as it stands today. We know that it was an extremely rare number station, and that it was broadcast on Hitler's birthday, April the 20th. We know it appeared on 4773 kHz, but that's about it. I've done a bit of digging to put together some more pieces of the jigsaw, in the hope that someone remembers it and can shed some light on this elusive station. Some sources claim it transmitted just once, others claim it transmitted more than once. All evidence suggests one transmission. As for the year, well, that's not clear either. No recordings exist of G23, so we don't know anything about its message content. We know nothing about the station's structure, although if it was German, it likely contained a musical preamble. If it followed a similar pattern to other German and German language number stations, like many did, it may have had a 3-digit ID repeated, followed by a 3-digit group and group count. It may have had a female operator that read 5-figure paired groups of numbers, and may have ended with a 3-digit group and group count before signing off with 00000. All of this is speculation on my part, of course, as not one source gives us any detail on Hitler's birthday. It was given the Enigma ID G23, which means it was certainly recognised as a number station. It was also given an ID 2M8, but I can't even be sure where this came from or what it means. Let's start with the limited mentions we have of G23 and work back in time to what I think holds the clue to more information on this true enigma. The Enigma Control List version 1.3, dated September 2017, lists G23 with a question mark along with April the 20th. This is the Enigma 2000 number stations group list that features every number and oddity ever logged. The question mark means we don't know whether the voice reading the numbers was male or female. The O indicates that G23 is an individual station that showed no obvious signs of a family relationship with others. The control list was created in 2006, which means that G23 at this point is at least this old, but I already know this. The fact that it remains on the list today tells us that there was no reason for it to be removed, i.e. it must have followed the pattern of a number station when it was heard. Basically, there's been nothing to suggest that it should be removed, but with evidence pointing towards a single transmission, this may mean nothing. Let's go further back to March 1999 now, to another mention of G23 in the French radio magazine Megahertz. This article doesn't give us much in the way of clues or real usable information. It suggests again that the station is of German origin, but let's break this theory down further. Many German number stations were active during the Cold War and indeed the decades either side. Quite a few were operated by either West or East Germany. Some were operated by other countries though, which muddies the waters. This means that G23 may not have belonged to Germany at all, despite being a German language station. For example, the SDECE, France's external intelligence agency from the 6th of November 1944 to the 2nd of April 1982, ran a German language number station. It was called G01, the Tyrolean music station, and was designed to mislead, to be mistaken for an East German station. Interestingly, on a side note, it disappeared overnight in 1975 after an article on it appeared in a French magazine called Antiférence, which claimed to know the location of the station, which was Chartres in France. The UOP, the Intelligence Agency of Poland, the AW, the Foreign Intelligence Agency of Poland, and the SB, the Security Service of the Ministry of Internal Affairs for Poland, all operated German language stations. So did the SIA, the State Intelligence Agency of Bulgaria, and the HNA, the Austrian Army Intelligence Office. Across East and West Germany, the NVA, the National People's Army, who were the armed forces of the German Democratic Republic from 1956 to 1990, operated German language stations. So did the Stasi, the State Security Service and Secret Police of East Germany from 1950 to 1990, and the BND, the Foreign Intelligence Service of the Federal Republic of Germany. Even the CIA, the Civilian Foreign Intelligence Service of the Federal Government of the United States, operated them, and of course the GRU, the Foreign Military Intelligence Agency of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation, and the SVR, Russia's external intelligence agency, did. So, as you can see, there's no end to German-speaking number stations, and no guarantee that G23 was operated by Germany at all. The first mention of G23 online was the 1st of September 1998, when Number Station's veteran and friend of mine Chris Smolinski of HF Underground mentioned the station on his Numbers Racket CD-ROM. As you can see, we have nothing else in the way of meaningful clues. There's also a mention in the January 1998 Numbers and Oddities newsletter produced by Ari Boender with the same amount of information. Going back a year to 1997, the year when the legendary and highly sought-after CoNet Project CD was released, we find another mention of G23 in the CD booklet. This CD was released by Akin Fernandez on Erdal Records in an attempt to push number stations to the masses and force the intelligence agencies of the world to admit the existence of them. There's unfortunately no recording on the CD, but the booklet features a number stations checklist, and we can see G23 at the bottom of the page, but with another clue: Langley Pierce. Langley Pierce, likely a pseudonym, was a shortwave radio-related author who released a few books back in the early 1990s. I say his name was likely a pseudonym because he published books on numerous political hot topics at a time when the law was scrutinising radio listeners in the UK and the rest of Europe. His three other publications were Monitoring the Iraq-Kuwait Conflict in 1994, Monitoring the War in Kosovo in 1999, and Monitoring the Yugoslav Conflict in 1993. He also wrote a number stations book, but we'll come to that in a second. Enigma newsletter issue number 11 was released in late 1996, and G23 features in the editions and updates column. What the update was, I can't be sure. Issue number 10 doesn't mention G23 at all, so it would appear that it was first spotted in 1996, but I don't think this was the case, purely due to the reference in the CoNet Project booklet, which brings me back to Langley Pierce. The book we're interested in is Intercepting Number Stations from 1994. This and his other books were released by Interproducts, who were already under close watch for the UK scanning directory books they also published. These books really shone the light on the fact that the government in the UK had no idea that everyone was listening to the country's most sensitive radio communications out in the clear. I've covered it many times before, but yes, it's true that in the early 1990s, when the UK's emergency, government and secret service radio communications moved to high-band VHF and UHF, everyone could listen in, and it took them a while to cotton on. The Langley Pierce clue, I think, means that G23 was heard for the first time in 1994 or prior. Many number stations mentioned in publications that were produced in the early 1990s focused on evidence, recordings and information from the 1970s and 1980s, so it may have been heard earlier. There are hundreds of recordings from these decades of number stations. Only a handful of stations were never recorded. Why wasn't G23 recorded? So this is where the already icy cold trail goes well and truly cold. I think the key lies in the Langley Pierce book. Unfortunately, this book is extremely rare now, but do you have a copy? If so, can you let me know what information is in that book on G23? It's the only other lead we have now in 2024, at least 30 years after it may or may not have been broadcast. There's still so many questions left to answer. Why was it called Hitler's birthday? Surely this wasn't purely based on the date it was broadcast. Numerous broadcasts of number stations would have been heard on any April the 20th over the years. We don't even know what year it was heard or logged if it was broadcast only once. Did it feature some sort of Nazi or Hitler-related propaganda, music or speech? There's just so many questions surrounding this station. Was it just a pirate or someone playing around? there must have been a substantial enough amount of content within the transmission for it to be classified as a number station at all, and keep this classification. G23 is a standard Enigma identifier, but where did the 2M8 identifier come from? What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments, and if you have the Langley Pierce book, I'd love to know what, if anything, is mentioned, and if Langley Pierce is watching, please get in touch.